Hi, I'm full of health. Here I go. What the fuck was I talking about? I believe I was talking about the way that this game presaged the disconnects that I would have with my parents, and also just with received wisdom in general, and how it helped me to understand eventually that a person's aesthetics are not actually culturally determinative. That is, there is no moral conclusions that can be drawn from one's aesthetic reactions to things. But paradoxically, in the short term, it brought me closer to the kind of cultures that traffic in those kinds of, what's the word I'm looking for? Fallacies! I was very excited about the word fallacies there. I really enjoyed that. So, cats and kittens. So that was one way in which it brought me into a disconnect with my family of origin. Another way in which, you know what, I don't really need this at this point. Another way in which it brought me into a disconnect with my family of origin was that my mother, right? Let me talk to you a little bit about my mother. My mother, you know, you may have inferred if you've been listening to this religiously. That's a joke because I was about to talk about how my family wasn't very religious at all. But there was a kind of religiosity, particularly on my mother's side, which manifested itself in a number of ways. She was a Gnostic for a while. She belonged to a number of different churches. But primarily what my mother believed in was archetypes. My mother believed in C.G. Jung. And as a result, my mother believed in mythology. And so I was very excited to have... I was very excited about this game, and I would talk to her about how excited I was about this game, and I think that initially she was excited about this game too, but she read the back of the box, which gives the blurb about the plot of this game, and for those of you who are not familiar, the plot of this game, you are Pit. But, you know, the English box art doesn't really make that much of a distinction between you and Icarus, yeah? And you are escaping from the underworld, where you have been banished, in order to, free Palutena, who is that's a Japanization of Pallas Athena, goddess of wisdom. Not Aphrodite. They had some, restraint. I'm gonna buy a barrel. I'm gonna buy a barrel. Buy a barrel. Here we go. Yeah. I don't want to give you business, but I guess I have to. Anywho. So your little guy has to go and defeat the evil Medusa in order to save Palutena from something. But anyway, so this is a completely ass-backwards reading of, I think this is the right direction. If it isn't, I'll never fucking know, will I? Yeah, you have to save her. You have to go through the underworld, the midworld, which is where I am now, the side-scrolling portion of the adventure, as opposed to the up-and-down fucking scrolling side of the adventure. And then through heaven to finally... Oh yeah, no, I fucked it up. I fucked it up completely. Am I going to go back for the power-up? Am I going to do that? I really should. But you know what? You know what, you guys? I'm not. Yeah. It's not that kind of playthrough. We're not speedrunning this. This is about my pain and you getting to listen to it. So anyway, my mom sees this version of the Icarus myth and she goes berserk because it's like, it's not true. And these myths are true for her, not in the sense that they really happened, but in that there is like a fundamental, like, cross-cultural, collective unconscious significance to all of these old stories, to the Greek myths, to the Norse myths, to, particularly to the Arthurian legends. They all have significance and are part of, like, our national heritage. And when she sees what the fucking Japanese have done to this particular myth, she goes fucking ballistic. I mean, not literally. She does not, well, I mean, kind of. Yes, of course I can endure this harsh training. What the fuck do you think I am? Anyway, so, she has a cow about it. And I love this game, if you'll remember from earlier in the conversation. So I'm like, what, how, who, my mother is very wise and knowledgeable in the way of all things. Her pronouncements are kind of batty occasionally, perhaps, but, they are but they usually are on the hoof of some kind of fundamental truth. What am I to make of this disconnect between this game that I love and this game which she seems to think is fundamentally evil on some level? Like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? And so what I did with that was the beginning of the process of compartmentalizing my values from the values of my parents. And, you know, it's probably pat bullshit to locate it at precisely that moment as opposed to any of the other, you know, potentially more formative moments that might have contained the same kind of nous. Oh, look at what I get. I got the upgrade anyway. So there you go. What I'm getting at then is that what we have for me in my association with this game is fundamentally a separation. First of all, a separation from Western culture in favor of this other, which, you know, I don't think that I latched onto because it was in any way particularly, you know, vibey with me, if that's a word that I can use. Nah. God, the little imp is so terrifying, isn't he, though? God, just the heart coming into your mouth when he comes out, and then the weep weep. It's totally just terrifying, and like I think I definitely have some scars on my poor little heart from those days, but as a separate issue. No, go away. I don't wanna do. But anyway, yeah. So like, I don't think there's anything like, That's proof you missed it before. I don't think there's anything particularly like anything particularly inherent in Japanese culture, in anime culture, in Japanese video game culture, in Japanese pop culture that made it such an appealing thing for me as a kid. It's just the otherness and the availability of it as a contrast. I mean, there is the thing like where there is a particular, along with the appreciation for youth and innocence, there is a particular veneration for introversion there, you know, for looking deep within yourself and finding your, you know, your hidden potential and, like, you know, basically being a shut-in. You know, there's a place for that in that society. So as a young introvert. But was I really such a young introvert? That's the question, you know. Was the need for belonging, the need to have some sort of culture that I could identify with, did that override potential that I might otherwise have had? It's a question. It's definitely a question. You got to look out for where lessons are being taught you, particularly when you're talking about video games, because video games are systems. Video games are... Oh no, these guys. Video games are... Oh no, they took my thing. Oh no, he's gonna take all my stuff. Oh no! There we go. I lost my long arrows. That's gonna make the next bit significantly harder. But once again, that's life, man. We're talking about life lessons learned from video games. Sometimes people will straight up steal your shit and there's nothing you can do about it. Some people in general just be dicks to you, and like all of the stuff that you've learned in your life, like, hey, let's shoot him with arrows, they don't work. They don't work on those guys. That's what life throws at you sometimes. Just like, you're going to be in situations where you're not going to be able to deal. Things are going to be unfair. You will have absolutely no recourse, and that's true for everybody. And boy, if I had those arrows still, this would be very easy, but now it's going to be very difficult. Oh well. You just got to learn to suck it up and roll with the punches. That's what I say. Emphasis on suck. But anyway, yeah. So you got to be careful about what video games are teaching you, because video games are, you know, as my buddy is fond of saying, it's not a question of whether games are art or not. It is that art is a kind of game, because art is all about play. It's all about the teaching of systems. And the thing about a video game is that in addition to the element where you have to play the game, you also have to learn the rules every single time. Every game, you know, even though some games are very similar to each other, every game has its own system of logic that you have to wrap your head around every single time. Oh my god, I'm 2 hearts short. And I'm like 23 hearts short of buying back my power. Man, I should have thought ahead, shouldn't I? But that's another lesson this game teaches you. Remember, or you get fucked over because you only have one chance, except for the next one. Oh, it's so neat. But really, trying to get to the point here. A game teaches you a system in addition to the gameplay itself. So not only do you have to be good at doing the thing, but you have to be good at figuring out what the thing is. And that's particularly true for these early games that didn't come with, you know, in-game tutorials or objective markers or any of the stuff that, you know, today's young spoiled millennials are, you know, have been handed to on a silver platter along with their self-esteem trophies, just making them, you know, useless parasites. I'm a millennial too, guys. It's okay. I don't mean any of it. Fuck! That's what I get for ironically dissing my generation. Anywho, boy, those long arrows would sure come in handy right about now. I can't believe that I picked out the bow with the arrows that only go like 2 inches when I started off my adventure. But anywho. So you have to learn the system and then you have to learn the game, in that order. Oh, I don't remember you being there just a second ago. So that means that what a game is teaching you, in addition to, you know, hand-eye coordination, is systems of thought. Fuck off with this. And that means that, particularly as a small child, you got to be aware of what that system of thought implies about the world that we live in. Now, you could say that these old games are more true than newer games because the system of punishment and reward inherent in them is not as clearly demarcated as it is in a lot of modern games. That is, it's not immediately clear what your objective is. It's not immediately as clear as to what exactly you have to do in order to do it. Much of the information that you're looking for actually is found outside the game in, like, you know, the manual or whatever, but even that is often, like, you know, poorly parsed or poorly translated. Now I can finally buy my arrows back. There we go. Stupid fucking robbers. Highway robbery. They're all working for him. That's my headcanon, is that he's the king of those little robbery guys. I have friends who are my age who get really upset when you use the word headcanon because it's but they're stupid. Anyway, so this game teaches you that, you know, things are not always going to be explained for you, which is good. It teaches you that things are sometimes going to be arbitrarily and maddeningly difficult, which is true. It's going to tell you that life isn't fair, also true. But it sort of it is also limited in its metaphorical weight, because there's also a clear linear progression afoot. You know, you're going from place to place. You know, there are some distinctions going on. Like, you know, hey, it's nighttime now, but, you know, it's clear that there's only one direction for you to go. You can't go back. You can't wander. You can't get lost. As a matter of fact, we're in a sort of existential eternity where if I look back far enough, I can see myself coming to meet me. You can see my little thingies going off the other side of the screen. Jesus Christ. But you get the point I'm trying to make, right? As a teacher, and all games are teachers by their very nature, it's not a bad one. I should really throw myself down a pit if a pit is available. Throw myself down a pit. But it's not as fundamental a teacher as some, because it definitely signifies this progression. When I was a kid, I definitely thought, you know, I was definitely eager to believe that everything in life goes in a straight line. Like, you have grades, you go kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, go to middle school, go to high school, go to college. And like, by the time that I realized, you know, with deep, you know, that I truly realized that I didn't know what was going to happen after I got through the linear part of the game, you know, after I got to the open world bit, you know, it was very unclear as to what I was actually going to be able to accomplish. It was a little bit too late, because I had just sort of been happily going, you know, from A to B and A to B and A to B. Nah. And so, like, I kind of wish that rather than a platformers, what had informed my childhood sensibility had been more on the level of your your roguelikes, like your net hacks or your XCOMs. XCOM isn't really a roguelike, but it is in the sense of what I'm saying here, which is a game which is procedurally generated. That is, you can't do it over and over again and learn, because in life you can never go back and do it over and over again. It's always going to be a little bit different, right? I mean, experience is going to help you, but rather than teaching you like the pattern of a particular level, which will never repeat, I mean, which repeats in this game as you play it over and over again, but the levels in life never repeat. Rather than teaching you a particular level, a roguelike teaches you a set of skills, right? It gives you, oh no, not the harsh training. Yeah, I can endure your harsh training. Why isn't there a pit for me to have flung myself into? I should have died and come back, not this nonsense. Oh. Anyway. Why is this guy being so mean to me anyway? I never really understood when I was a kid that the training was, the training element of this. I thought it was just a guy trying to hurt me for no particular reason. That how it could possibly redound to be to my benefit was just a complete mystery. I don't know. Also, like the way that these power-ups don't activate until you heal yourself, really weird. But I digress. So roguelikes teach you coping strategies as opposed to pat ways that you can deal with given situations, which means that they're going to be better life lesson givers. Roguelikes teach you, up or down, another opportunity to get screwed over. Roguelikes teach you also that there isn't necessarily an end that you're striving toward. That the true roguelike, and one that that you rarely see, like if we're being real here, is one that the true roguelike is one that never ends. Things just keep getting harder and harder and more maddening, and then eventually you die, and that's what life is like. So that is what an ideal video game should be, given that truth is beauty, beauty truth, and so on. You want something that most closely mirrors the experience and is the most useful in its teaching. I want art for use. People say, there's an ongoing debate between is it art or is it design making video games? Well, I say art and design serve the same purpose. There is no such thing as art which is not utilitarian. That's not what I need right now. I need to be able to get through the level without dying. There we go. Fuck. I don't want to lose any of my carefully hoarded bottles of purple stuff. Or any of my sweet items. Oh, through the graveyard yet. It's just so harsh. It's all such harsh training. If I go in here... Yeah, terrible things will happen if I go in here. I already have a barrel. Why are you trying to sell me a barrel? Maybe it's a metaphor for the way that he has me over a barrel when he steals my stuff. But anyway, we appear to have gotten past that part. So like a game like XCOM, it teaches you to make your monthly budget. It teaches you that everything's going to keep getting slightly harder. It teaches you that previous success is no guarantee of success going forward. It teaches you that the universe is hostile and mysterious, and that when you finally figure out why everything happened the way it did, none of it was going to make any sense. You can quibble with certain aspects of it. I mean, the hard crashing that it does, another real solid, metaphor for the way that things go. Oh, I swear to God, that was hard to take. All I wanted to do was get through this level without having to do that, and I was so close. There you go. Failure. Failure on top of failure. Anyway, yeah. So, I think that I would not perhaps have been lumbered with certain misconceptions about the way the world works. Had Kid Icarus just been a never-ending procedural generated nightmare journey through some imagined Greek space. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so while I let myself get killed by orbs repeatedly until I've gotten through the two potions that I have in stock, I think that I'm going to tell you all a little tale. No, fuck that, actually. We're going to keep going on about art for purpose. The sort of the Brechtian idea that, you know, that every story should teach you something. This is something that I definitely, like, I definitely agree with on a certain basic level. Oh, fuck it, I'm just going to do this in the lava. That's going to make it faster. Enjoy the remix of my death. Thank you very much. Yeah, so there's this idea that art is fundamentally, you know, just decorative, and that's what separates art from design. And then there's people who say that you ought to be able to learn something from art. And I think a lot of the disagreements that you get in modern game culture center around misunderstandings around this notion. Oh, shit. I don't know what select is on this keyboard. Hang on just a second. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, no. It's right shift? Okay, fine. There we go. That makes perfect sense, what I just did there. And, like, I think that it's one of those things, like, you know, pretending to be an apolitical human being, when that is sort of definitionally not a thing that is possible to do, is claiming that, you know, a story doesn't have to be about anything. The thing is that people are inherently political. People are inherently political. People have, you know, and this is what the Tumblr generation has learned, people have these demographic qualities which are fundamentally sewn into who they are and inform every aspect of their behavior, their reactions to things, their consciousness, as we were talking about earlier, you know, with, you know, ideology, religion, gonads. It's all part of you, no matter who you are, no matter how chill you try to be, no matter how much of a neutral bro you are, no matter how much of an American mutt you are, your identity is an inescapable part of you. And the more you try to deny it, the sillier you look. Oh God, yes. I knew I was going in the right direction. And the thing about art is that it's made by human beings. So not only do you gotta, you know, I think that it's sort of an inescapable fact that that any piece of art that a creator makes is going to be, oh no, is going to be informed by the political assumptions of his background, particularly if he hasn't brought those to light. That's the thing about, you know, people ask, oh, why do I have to pay attention? Like, you know, I'm not telling you to check your privilege or whatever because, you know, I want you to feel bad. I'm telling you to check your privilege or whatever because it's going to make you a better artist. Shit that you haven't brought to consciousness. Shit that, okay. Shit that you haven't brought to consciousness is going to seep into your work. Those bits of your identity and those bits of your politics. They're all going to be present in anything that you do. Much as, you know, this game's DNA is present in me. and is therefore going to be present in your uncritical readers as well. So it is your responsibility as a writer to try to become as self-aware as you possibly can, that you may not be spewing bullshit into the world that you don't consciously agree with because of the workings of your unconscious mind. And that is what, maybe I'll buy a bottle. And that is what a lot of artists have to deal with. You know, it's a learning process, but it's absolutely one that's worth doing if you want to make stuff that's good, I think, and not stuff that's merely of historical curious, of the significance of a historical curio, right? So, you know, and so you can say to me, why Isaac? This doesn't seem to jibe with what you were saying earlier about the sort of the unfiltered, pure poetry of you know, sort of the childlike reaction to nature thing, and doesn't, you know, and we were even discussing how, like, you know, uncritically accepting what you love is something that you miss. And I'm like, yeah, so? I don't mean I think it's right. And that's one of those things which makes me particularly ill at ease with folks who don't seem to have, you know, taken this particular concept to heart. Because if I can't uncritically accept my instincts, if I have to stop and think all the time about what it means to be who I am before I can make decisions, because it has been demonstrated to me repeatedly that if I don't do that, I end up making shitty decisions that end up hurting people and making me look like a jerk. Why should you get away with it? I'm gonna fucking call you out when I see it. I'm going to be a jerk to you because I am using my own pain in that instance. I just went in a big circle. I definitely just went in a big circle there. Did you see that? I'm definitely currently going in a big circle. Holy shit. Fuck me sideways. At least I get to heal up again. I was sure that was the right way to go, though. I was sure that was what you're supposed to do under those circumstances. I thought I was doing it right. Maybe this is it. No, I don't think this is it. I think I screwed it up. Yeah, give me the bottle. I'm gonna need it. This fucking game, man. Yep, here I am, right back where I started. Except... ugh. Just awful. Just the pits. If you'll forgive me. But what was I going on about? Yeah, there we go. It's all fucked. It's all fucked. We're going to keep going round and round in circles. But I think this probably means that this is a good time to call it for now. I'm going to keep this process running in the background until my computer squeals like a pig. But we are going to finish this, you and I. And I'm going to come up with more elementally depressing things to tell you in the meantime. So, it's ta-ta for now. And what even are these things supposed to be? Little mushroomy guys? Guess so.